On the night of October 31st, 2001, 21-year-old Cindy Song, a senior at Pennsylvania State University, attended a Halloween party at Players Nightclub in State College, Pennsylvania. Dressed in a bunny costume, she left the club around 2 a.m. with friends Stacy Paik and Lisa Kim. The trio visited another friend's apartment, playing video games until approximately 4 a.m., when Cindy was dropped off at her residence in the State College Park Apartments on West Clinton Avenue. This was the last confirmed sighting of her. When Cindy failed to contact anyone by November 4th, her friends reported her missing. Investigators found her apartment door locked with no signs of forced entry or struggle. Inside, they discovered her backpack, cell phone, and the false eyelashes she had worn that night. Notably absent were her keys and purse, which contained her driver's license and credit cards. There was no activity on her credit cards, and her cell phone hadn't been used since her disappearance. Authorities surmised she might have left her apartment voluntarily, possibly to visit a nearby 24-hour convenience store, which her friends said was a habit of hers. A few days after Cindy's disappearance, a witness in Philadelphia's Chinatown district, nearly 200 miles away, reported seeing a woman matching Cindy's description being forced into a vehicle. The woman was reportedly crying for help, but an unidentified man intervened, telling the witness to leave. Despite a composite sketch and public appeals, neither the man nor the woman was identified, and the lead didn't yield further information. In 2003, the case took a turn when authorities investigated Hugo Selensky, a bank robber and suspected serial slayer from Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. An informant claimed that Selensky and his accomplice, Michael Kurkowski, had abducted a woman matching Cindy's description. However, while searches of Selensky's property uncovered multiple human remains, none of these were identified as Cindy's. Cindy's family, who traveled from South Korea to aid in the search, inadvertently cleaned her apartment shortly after the initial police investigation, potentially destroying valuable evidence. However, it's important to note that the police had already conducted a search of the premises, lessening this possibility. Over the years, various theories have emerged, including the possibility of Cindy being abducted by someone she knew or falling victim to a random act of violence. Despite extensive investigations, searches, and public appeals, Cindy Song's fate remains unknown, and her case is still unsolved. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Cindy Song, please contact the Ferguson Township Police Department. Idlewild, a small mountain community in Riverside County, California, has been the focal point of several mysterious disappearances in recent years. Between March and August 2020, 6 individuals vanished in and around the Idlewild Pine Cove area, prompting extensive investigations by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. On July 7, 2020, 73-year-old Rosario Garcia left her Hemet home and was reported missing later that day. Her silver Nissan Altima was discovered abandoned, stuck on a boulder along a steep dirt road near Highway 74 in Pinyon Pines, close to Idlewild. Despite extensive searches by deputies, family members, and community volunteers, no further traces of Garcia have been found. Garcia suffers from dementia, and her family believes she couldn't have driven to that location on her own. Melissa Lane, 41, was last seen on June 15, 2020, after exiting a relative's vehicle near the trailhead to Black Mountain Truck Trail, 8 miles north of Idlewild. Her mother reported her missing on July 4, 2020. Lane's family has expressed concerns about her safety, noting that she often hitchhiked in the area. Lydia Abrams, 65, was last seen on June 6, 2020, at her 117-acre ranch in Apple Canyon, east of Idlewild. Search efforts on her property yielded no signs of her whereabouts. Abrams's disappearance has been the subject of ongoing investigations, including searches with cadaver dogs that have alerted to potential evidence. On March 4th, 2020, 52-year-old Roy Profogel left his Idlewild home for a hike and was last seen at the Pine Cove Market around 6:30 p.m. His backpack was later found on a nearby trail, but despite multiple search efforts, Profogel remains missing. His family continues to seek answers regarding his disappearance. Vanessa Vlasek, 27, was reported missing on July 31st, 2020, by her sister, who hadn't spoken to her since March. Vlasek was last known to be in the Idlewild area. She was later located safely, though details of her discovery have not been publicly disclosed. On July 22, 2020, 30-year-old Jade Kemmerer checked out of the Bluebird Cottage Inn in Idlewild and was last seen driving her white Kia Optima. She was reported missing after failing to contact her family. Kemmerer was subsequently found safe, but once again the specific circumstances surrounding her disappearance and recovery have not been released. Community members have expressed concerns about the number of disappearances in such a short period. Some families believe there may be connections between the cases, though authorities have not confirmed any links. The lack of information has led to speculation and heightened anxiety among residents, which some believe may have sparked a mass hysteria event in the region. As of November 2024, the cases of Rosario Garcia, Melissa Lane, Lydia Abrams, and Roy Profogel remain open. If you have any information regarding any of these disappearances, please contact the Riverside Police Department with details. On September 23, 2012, authorities in Wilkes County, Georgia, discovered the body of 35-year-old Jeffrey Gebhardt in a remote area of the Clarks Hill, a wildlife management area. Also, for brevity, I'm going to be referring to this area as Clarks Hill WMA from now on. Gebhardt, an experienced hunter from Blairsville, Georgia, had been participating in a special 3-day deer hunt at the 13,000-acre WMA, which required prior registration and planning. Gebhardt and a friend, whose identity has not been publicly disclosed, arrived at the Holiday Park campground on September 20th, 2012, to commence their hunting trip. The following day, they ventured into the woods together but became separated. Gebhardt managed to find his way back to camp that evening, reportedly with the assistance of another hunter who gave him a ride back to the campground parking lot. On September 22nd, 2012, the second day of their trip, Gebhardt and his friend once again entered the woods for hunting. They became separated, and as night fell, Gebhardt did not return to camp. His friend contacted the Wilkes County Sheriff's Office at approximately 10:12 p.m. to report him missing. Simultaneously, Gebhardt made several calls to 911, stating he was lost in the Clarks Hill WMA. Due to poor cell reception, these calls were intermittent and dropped frequently. A search and rescue operation was launched, involving the Wilkes County Sheriff's Office, the Washington Fire Department, Georgia Department of Natural Resources Rangers, and other volunteers. They utilized flashlights, spotlights, police lights, and sirens in an attempt to signal Gebhardt. A Georgia State Patrol helicopter equipped with heat-seeking technology was deployed to assist in locating him. In the early hours of September 23, 2012, the helicopter detected a heat signature in a marshy area near Thurmond and Clarks Hill Lakes, which would have been submerged but for low water levels. Ground teams reached the location around 3 a.m. and found Gebhardt's body. He had sustained multiple stab wounds to his chest and torso. Investigators noted the absence of other footprints or signs of another person at the scene. An autopsy was conducted on September 24, 2012. The following day, authorities announced that Gebhardt's death was being investigated as a slaying. Wilkes County Sheriff Mark Moore stated, The investigation is continuing with evidence collected at the scene and with additional interviews. Despite the ongoing investigation, few details were released to the public. In October 2012, Sheriff Moore addressed concerns about public safety, stating, "The evidence at this time doesn't indicate that there is any Rambo-type killer running in the woods." And yes, in case you're wondering, this isn't me paraphrasing or sensationalizing the case. The sheriff actually came out and said that. I don't think any statement could instill less confidence that there wasn't an individual in the woods committing heinous acts. He added that investigators had interviewed numerous hunters in the area and believed they had spoken to everyone who had interacted with Gebhardt. By December 2012, Sheriff Moore indicated that the investigation was nearing a conclusion, stating, "We're close to coming to a conclusion in this case." However, he did not provide specific details about the findings, and there was no hint at what would come next. In August 2013, a grand jury reviewed the case and concluded that Gebhardt's death was an intentional self-ending incident. This ruling was based on the evidence presented, including the autopsy report and the circumstances surrounding his death. The decision was met with shock and disbelief by Gebhardt's family and friends, who questioned the plausibility of someone inflicting multiple stab wounds upon themselves. And just to drive the point home, Jeffrey was stabbed a total of 17 times. Despite the official ruling, questions and doubts persist among those who knew Gebhardt and from the public in general. The lack of clear answers and the unusual nature of his death continue to fuel speculation and concern within the community. Gebhardt's family has expressed dissatisfaction with the investigation's outcome and has questioned the thoroughness of the inquiry. Unfortunately, given the grand jury conclusion, the case has been closed and there's no ongoing investigation into this highly unusual death. His family has called for a reopening of the case and further investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death. Unfortunately, however, this has fallen onto deaf ears, so all that can be done now is to raise awareness about the highly unusual nature of this case. In the 16th century, European explorers and cartographers mistakenly believed that California was an island separate from mainland North America. This misconception persisted for over a century, influencing numerous maps and shaping European understanding of the region. The origin of this error can be traced back to the 1510 Spanish novel Las Sergas de Esplandian by García Rodríguez de Montalvo. The book described a mythical island named California, inhabited by Amazonian women and abundant in gold. When Spanish explorers encountered the Baja California Peninsula, they associated it with Montalvo's fictional island, leading to the belief that California was an island. In 1533, an expedition led by Fortun Ximénez reached the southern tip of Baja California. The explorers, influenced by Montalvo's novel, named the land California, reinforcing the island misconception. Subsequent expeditions, including those by Hernán Cortés, failed to dispel this belief. The first known map depicting California as an island was created by the Spanish cartographer Diego Gutiérrez in 1562. This portrayal gained traction, and by the early 17th century, many European maps featured California as an island. Notable cartographers like Gerardus Mercator and Abraham Ortelius adopted this depiction, further entrenching the error. In 1602, Sebastián Vizcaíno led an expedition along the California coast. Despite his detailed surveys, the island belief persisted even after. In 1622, the Dutch cartographer Hessel Gerrits published a map showing California as an island, once again solidifying the misconception in European cartography even after it had been proven wrong. The Jesuit missionary Eusebio Francisco Kino played a pivotal role in correcting this error. Between 1698 and 1701, Kino conducted overland expeditions across the region, demonstrating that California was a peninsula connected to the mainland. In 1705, he published a map titled Passage by Land to California, challenging the island depiction. Despite Kino's findings, the island portrayal persisted in European maps for several decades. It wasn't until 1747 that Ferdinand VI of Spain issued a royal decree declaring that California is not an island, leading to a gradual correction in cartographic representations. This was done after a Jesuit sailed around the Gulf of California and returned to the king to directly confirm that California is indeed not an island. Personally, I think this mystery can be firmly put in the solved category. However, some have argued that the Channel Islands off the coast of California could have been a source of this confusion. Given the size of these islands, I find this a little hard to believe. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy here, just reminding you to like and subscribe and to hit the notification bell. I'm trying to hit 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I can only do that with the help from all you cool cats. Also remember to sign up for a YouTube membership or Patreon membership to support the channel further. Valve Corporation, founded in 1996 by former Microsoft employees Gabe Newell, affectionately known as Gaben after his screen name, and Mike Harrington, has become a cornerstone of PC gaming. Their journey from a fledgling startup to one of the most dominant forces in gaming is complex, and given that the company is private, it's also led to a great mystery. Just how much is Valve worth? In the mid-90s, Newell and Harrington left Microsoft to pursue their passion for gaming. Their first project, Half-Life, released in 1998, was a groundbreaking first-person shooter that received critical acclaim for its immersive storytelling and innovative gameplay. This success established Valve as a significant player in the gaming world. Following Half-Life, Valve continued to innovate with titles like Team Fortress Classic and Counter-Strike, both of which began as community mods before being officially adopted by the company. These games not only expanded Valve's portfolio, but also fostered a strong community of players and modders. In 2003, Valve launched Steam, a digital distribution platform that transformed how games were delivered and played. Initially developed to streamline the patching process for Counter-Strike, Steam evolved into a comprehensive platform offering game distribution, multiplayer gaming, and social networking services. Steam generates revenue through several channels. Perhaps the most obvious is game sales. Valve takes a percentage of sales from games sold on the platform, with 30% being the average cut. By 2011, Steam controlled between 50% and 70% of the market for downloaded PC games, making it the most significant revenue source for Valve. Additionally, many games on Steam offer microtransactions, with Valve receiving a cut of these sales as well. And of course I have to mention that Counter-Strike 2, a game developed by Valve, averages nearly 1 million concurrent players a day, with peak daily numbers nearing 1.5 million. Dota 2, another popular Valve game, also averages nearly 500,000 concurrent players daily. Despite its success, Valve remains a privately held company, and its financial details are a very closely guarded secret. This secrecy has led to much speculation about the company's true value. Various estimates have been made over the years, with recent estimates ranging from as little as $10 billion to as much as $60 billion. Gabe Newell is known to hold a significant portion of Valve's shares, with some reports suggesting he owns more than 50% of the company. This substantial ownership stake allows Newell to maintain control over the company's direction and operations. Anyway, the real mystery here is, of course, not the valuation of Valve, but rather why a company almost certainly worth in excess of $10 billion won't produce Half-Life 3. In April 1977, an abandoned farmhouse near Towfield, Alberta, Canada, became the scene of a shocking discovery. A couple, who had come to the farm to install a new septic tank pump, stumbled upon human remains in the tank. These remains, later referred to as Septic Tank Sam, led to a mystery that would baffle investigators for decades. The body, identified through years of investigation, endured significant trauma before being concealed. The case of Septic Tank Sam highlights the challenges authorities face in resolving cases of this nature, especially when initial evidence and identification methods are limited. When police arrived on the scene in 1977, they found the body in poor condition, wrapped in a yellow bedsheet, tied with nylon cord, and placed inside the septic tank. According to the autopsy, Sam had suffered various injuries before his death, which involved both beatings and burns. The body had been affected by substances that appeared intended to quicken decomposition, but these efforts were ineffective in concealing evidence. With few clues to go on, the investigation by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police began by seeking to identify the victim. In 1977, forensic methods were far less advanced, so authorities relied on techniques available at the time. They distributed composite sketches and dental records across Canada. Unfortunately, these efforts yielded no promising leads, and the case remained unsolved. The man in the tank was left without a name or a history, and it seemed his identity might never be known. The mystery surrounding Septic Tank Sam drew significant media attention at the time, and over the subsequent years, particularly due to the uncanny composite sketch associated with the man. This publicity, however, didn't uncover new information. The RCMP continued to follow any potential leads, but most went cold quickly. With no identification and no significant leads, the case was eventually deemed a cold case. Decades later, forensic science caught up to the mystery. Advances in DNA technology and genetic testing offered a new path forward. In 2019, the RCMP collaborated with a company called Othram, a Texas-based laboratory specializing in DNA extraction and analysis from degraded samples. Othram was able to use the victim's genetic material to determine his identity. This technique, known as genetic genealogy, involves comparing the DNA to profiles in public databases to locate family members who may have matching DNA sequences. Through this approach, scientists can build family trees leading back to unknown individuals. By mid-2020, through DNA matches to distant family members, the RCMP identified Septic Tank Sam as Gordon Edwin Sanderson, a 26-year-old Indigenous man from Manitoba. Sanderson had been separated from his family early in life, a tragic experience for many Indigenous people who grew up in Canadian foster systems during what's called the 60s scoop. During this period, Indigenous children were removed from their families and placed in foster care or adopted out, often far from their communities and culture. The purpose of this activity was to destroy the children's connection to their Indigenous heritage, and as one may expect, they very often ended up in horrifically abusive situations. Once Sanderson's identity was confirmed, the RCMP could begin reconstructing his last known activities. They learned he had associated with individuals in Edmonton who may have been involved in criminal activities, and these connections could have put him at risk. The focus of the investigation then shifted to determining who last saw Sanderson alive and why he might have been in the rural area near Toefield. Unfortunately, despite the renewed attention to the case, no clear leads on potential suspects emerged, and no one has been held accountable for his death. If you have any information regarding Gordon Sanderson, please contact the RCMP with details. Despite this case being over 45 years old, I suspect that the level of attention brought on by the famous composite sketch may keep enough attention on it to get it solved. Herobrine is a mythical figure in the Minecraft community, often depicted as a ghostly version of the game's default character, Steve, distinguished by his haunting white eyes. Despite never being part of the official game, Herobrine has become a significant element of Minecraft's folklore, captivating players worldwide. The legend of Herobrine began in 2010 with an anonymous post on 4chan's VBoard, which is dedicated to gaming. The author recounted encountering a mysterious figure resembling Steve but with white eyes, who vanished upon being spotted. Following this encounter, the player noticed unusual structures and unexplained changes in their game world. Attempts to discuss this experience online were allegedly met with deletions and a cryptic message from a user named Herobrine, stating, "Stop." The post also claimed that Herobrine was the deceased brother of Notch, the creator of Minecraft. However, Notch has clarified that he doesn't have a dead brother, and that Herobrine was never part of the game. The story gained traction when a popular Minecraft streamer staged a hoax during a live stream. He modified the game's textures to include Herobrine, leading viewers to believe they had witnessed a genuine sighting. This event significantly amplified the legend's popularity, inspiring numerous fan-made sightings, videos, and stories. Despite Mojang's consistent denial of Herobrine's existence, the character has remained a prominent figure in Minecraft's community. The game's developers have occasionally included the phrase "removed Herobrine" in update changelogs, acknowledging the myth humorously. Herobrine's influence extends beyond the game itself. The character has been featured in various fan-made mods, allowing players to experience encounters with the mythical figure. Notably, despite the character having never existed in the game, numerous players claim to have encountered him in unmodded Minecraft. In the early hours of September 1st, 2001, a fire erupted in the Myojo 56 building, located in Tokyo's Kabukicho district. This blaze claimed 44 lives, making it one of Japan's deadliest post-war fires. The incident raised numerous questions about safety standards and potential criminal activities. Around 1 a.m., the fire started on the third floor of the Myojo 56 building. At that time, 19 individuals were on the third floor, and 28 were on the fourth. 3 employees managed to escape by jumping from the third floor, sustaining injuries in the process. Emergency responders arrived promptly, rescuing those who had fled to the roof and recovering the bodies of 44 victims from inside the building. Investigations revealed multiple fire code violations that exacerbated the tragedy. Blocked fire doors and stairwells hindered evacuation efforts. The primary cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. Authorities concluded that if the building's automated fire doors hadn't been obstructed, toxic gases wouldn't have reached occupied areas for at least 20 minutes, potentially saving lives. 6 individuals faced charges of professional negligence resulting in death. Among them were 2 executives from the Myojo Kosan Group, the building's owner, and tenants operating a video mahjong parlor and a hostess bar. On July 2, 2008, 5 defendants were convicted, while 1 was acquitted. By July 2008, Tokyo police suspected arson as the fire's cause, but hadn't made any arrests. Reports indicated that the mahjong parlor was an illegal gambling den with significant daily revenues. Speculations arose about possible connections to organized crime, including the Yakuza and Chinese mafia, due to the nature of the businesses involved. However, no concrete evidence linked these groups to the fire. Despite extensive investigations, the exact cause of the fire remains undetermined. Witnesses reported seeing a suspicious man leaving the building around the time of the incident, but he was never identified. Aslan, often referred to as the ancestral homeland of the Aztec people, remains one of history's enduring enigmas. Described in various Nahuatl legends, Aztlan is depicted as an island paradise, abundant in resources and surrounded by water. The term Aztlan translates to place of whiteness or place of the heron, reflecting its association with herons and possibly white egrets. According to Aztec mythology, 7 tribes, collectively known as the Nahua people, resided in Chikamoztoc, the place of the 7 caves. Each cave represented a different tribe: the Xochimilca, Tlahuica, Acolua, Tlaxcalteca, Tepaneca, Chalca, and Mexica. As I'm editing this, I realize that the last one is properly pronounced Mexica, but yeah, I'm not going to attempt to re-record me reading those names again. These tribes eventually left Chikamoztoc and settled near Aztlan. The Mexica, who later became the Aztecs, were guided by their god Huitzilopochtli to leave Aztlan and embark on a journey that would lead them to the Valley of Mexico. This is where they founded Tenochtitlan in 1325 AD and later became known to history as the Aztecs. The exact location of Aztlan has been a subject of debate among historians and archaeologists. Some theories suggest it was situated in northwestern Mexico, possibly in the state of Nayarit. The island of Mexcaltitan de Uribe has been proposed as a potential site due to its resemblance to descriptions of Aztlan. Mexcaltitan is a small, man-made island on Lake Mexcaltitan, featuring a circular layout with streets arranged in a grid pattern, similar to depictions of Aztlan. Other scholars have posited that Aztlan could be located in the southwestern United States, with some theories extending as far north as Utah. These hypotheses are based on linguistic and cultural similarities between the Aztecs and indigenous groups in these regions. However, no definitive archaeological evidence has been found to confirm these locations. The ambiguity surrounding Aztlan's location is compounded by the fact that it is primarily known through mythological narratives and codices, such as the Codex Boturini. These sources provide symbolic and allegorical descriptions, rather than precise geographical information. Some scholars argue that Aztlan may not correspond to a real physical location, but rather serves as a mythical origin story that underscores the Mexica's cultural identity and migration narrative. Despite numerous centuries of research, the true location of Aztlan, if it indeed existed at all, remains unverified. The Dancing Forest, located on the Curonian Spit in Kaliningrad Oblast, Russia, is renowned for its pine trees with unusually twisted trunks. These trees form rings, spirals, and other convoluted shapes, a phenomenon that has puzzled scientists and visitors alike. Planted in the 1960s, the forest was intended to stabilize the shifting sands of the Curonian Spit. Several theories attempt to explain the tree's peculiar formations. One suggests that the activity of the pine shoot moth caterpillar damages the apical buds of young pines, causing lateral buds to dominate and resulting in twisted growth patterns. Another theory attributes the shapes to the area's strong winds and unstable sandy soil, which may influence the tree's growth directions. The forest's unique appearance has also given rise to local legends. Some believe the tree's shapes are due to the area's positive and negative energies clashing, while others think the trees follow the movement of the sands. Despite various studies, the exact cause of the tree's unusual shapes remains uncertain. The combination of biological factors, environmental conditions, and perhaps even human influence continues to intrigue researchers and nature enthusiasts. Ray Rivera's death in 2006 remains one of Baltimore's most perplexing mysteries. On May 16, 2006, Rivera, a 32-year-old aspiring screenwriter and financial writer, abruptly left his Northwood home after receiving a phone call. His wife, Allison, was out of town on business, and a house guest reported hearing Rivera drop an expletive before rushing out. 6 days later, his decomposed body was discovered in a disused conference room at the Belvedere Hotel, having apparently fallen through the roof. The circumstances of his death have sparked numerous theories and debates. Rivera had recently relocated from California to Baltimore to work for his longtime friend, Porter Stansberry, at Stansberry and Associates Investment Research. He was responsible for writing financial newsletters and producing videos for the company. Despite his professional commitments, Rivera harbored ambitions of becoming a screenwriter, a passion he pursued alongside his job. The discovery of Rivera's body raised immediate questions. The hole in the roof suggested a fall from a significant height, but the logistics seemed implausible. The hotel's main roof was 14 stories high, and for Rivera to have landed where he did, he would have needed a running start to clear the distance. This scenario was complicated by the hotel's architectural features, which made running somewhat unlikely. Additionally, Rivera's cell phone and glasses were found near the hole, both intact, which seemed inconsistent with a fall from such a height. The medical examiner's report listed Rivera's cause of death as undetermined, noting multiple injuries consistent with a fall from a considerable height. However, the report also highlighted that some injuries were not typical of a high-velocity impact, leading to further speculation. A significant piece of evidence was a note found taped behind Rivera's computer monitor. The note contained a list of names, including those of prominent figures and family members, as well as references to movies and Freemasonry. The FBI analyzed the note and concluded it wasn't one of those notes one leaves behind when one plans to depart on purpose, if you get my drift. In the days leading up to his disappearance, Rivera exhibited signs of distress. Allison reported that their home alarm had been triggered twice in the preceding weeks, and Rivera appeared increasingly anxious. Despite her concerns, he did not disclose the reasons for his unease. The phone call Rivera received before leaving his home was traced to the switchboard of Agora Publishing, the parent company of Stansberry and Associates. However, the identity of the caller remains unknown, and no one has come forward to provide information about the call's content, which has fueled further suspicion. Porter Stansberry's response to Rivera's death has been a point of contention. Stansberry declined to be interviewed by police and imposed a gag order on his employees, preventing them from discussing the case. This lack of cooperation has led to speculation about his potential involvement or knowledge regarding the circumstances of Rivera's death. Theories about Rivera's death are varied. Some suggest he was pushed or thrown from a height, while others propose he was killed elsewhere and his body placed at the hotel to stage a fall. The intact condition of his cell phone and glasses, as well as the lack of significant blood at the scene, support these alternative theories. In the mid-1960s, a family residing near Copalis Beach, Washington, reported a series of unsettling encounters with a creature they dubbed the Cowman. This entity was described as a large, hairy, and foul-smelling humanoid, standing over 7 feet tall. The family's experiences have since become a notable account in Bigfoot lore. The initial incident occurred when the family's 4-year-old son, Tim, mentioned seeing a cowman entangled in a barbed wire fence on their property. Upon investigation, his mother detected a pungent odor, but saw no creature. Later, the father, John, and his eldest son discovered tufts of reddish-brown hair caught on the fence, accompanied by an unpleasant smell reminiscent of rotting garbage and wet dogs. Subsequent events escalated in intensity. The family reported hearing heavy footsteps around their home at night and observed the creature peering through windows. On one occasion, John and his son ventured into the woods, where they encountered the creature directly. It stood over 7 feet tall, with a broad chest and deep red eyes. When the creature lunged toward his son, John fired his gun into the ground, causing it to retreat. These encounters left the family in a state of fear and confusion. They described the creature as having a human-like form covered in hair, emitting a strong, unpleasant odor, and displaying behaviors that suggested intelligence and curiosity. The term cowman was coined by young Tim, possibly due to the creature's size and the smell associated with livestock. The Cowman of Copalis Beach story has been discussed in various forums and publications over the years. Some researchers consider it a credible account of a Bigfoot encounter, while others view it with skepticism. The lack of physical evidence and the reliance on personal testimonies make it challenging to verify the events conclusively. Personally, when I was looking into this one, this really sounds a lot more like a creepypasta than a legitimate encounter with a Bigfoot-like creature. But maybe that's just me. The Global Consciousness Project is a long-standing experiment initiated in 1998, designed to explore the potential influence of collective human consciousness on random physical processes. Spearheaded by Roger Nelson, who was previously associated with the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab, the project utilizes a global network of random number generators. These random number generations, often referred to as eggs, detect subtle deviations from expected randomness during significant global events. The underlying hypothesis is that during moments of global focus or emotional intensity, human consciousness may collectively influence these RNGs. This is thought to lead to detectable patterns that diverge from statistical randomness. The GCP network operates continuously, collecting data from RNGs situated in over 70 locations worldwide. These devices generate random sequences of numbers that, under normal conditions, should not show any discernible patterns. The project examines whether specific events that capture widespread attention are associated with statistically significant deviations in these random sequences. Over the years, the GCP has documented hundreds of such events, with the data suggesting varying degrees of correlation between the events and the anomalies detected in RNG outputs. For example, the project has analyzed data surrounding global celebrations like New Year's Eve and international efforts like synchronized global meditations. Some of these events have shown strong correlations with deviations from randomness, while others have shown none. Despite these mixed results, the overall analysis suggests that there may be a subtle, yet persistent influence of collective consciousness on random physical systems. The GCP argues that these findings point to the existence of a global consciousness, a shared mind space that can exert influence on the physical world when groups are synchronized. The concept of global consciousness aligns with various philosophical and cultural ideas that posit an interconnectedness of all human beings at a fundamental level. Critics of the GCP argue that the methodology is flawed and that the observed deviations could be the result of statistical anomalies or selection bias rather than a genuine effect of global consciousness. Furthermore, some skeptics point out that not all significant global events produce the expected deviations in RNG outputs, which raises questions about the reproducibility of the GCP's findings. Despite these criticisms, the project has remained a focal point for discussions on the potential intersections between consciousness and manifesting physical reality. Despite its groundbreaking potential, as discussed, the project has faced significant skepticism and efforts to discredit its findings. Some argue that these efforts at, quote, debunking are not purely based on scientific critique, but are motivated by the elite's desire to keep such information from gaining widespread acceptance. Greek fire was a formidable incendiary weapon developed by the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, in the 7th century AD. Renowned for its ability to ignite upon contact with water, it played a pivotal role in Byzantine naval warfare, particularly in defending Constantinople against sieges. The exact composition of Greek fire remains a mystery, as the Byzantines guarded its formula closely, leading to much speculation among historians. The invention of Greek fire is attributed to Callinicos, a Greek-speaking Jewish refugee from Heliopolis in Syria, who fled to Constantinople around 673 after the city had fallen to the Caliphate. Facing the threat of Arab naval forces, Callinicos offered his creation to Emperor Constantine IV, providing the Byzantines with a significant advantage in naval engagements. The weapon's first recorded use was during the Arab siege of Constantinople in 674, where it was instrumental in repelling the invaders. The precise ingredients and manufacturing process of Greek fire were state secrets, known only to a select few within the Byzantine military. This secrecy was so effective that even today, the exact formula remains unknown. Contemporary accounts suggest that Greek fire was a petroleum-based substance, possibly incorporating components like naphtha, quicklime, sulfur, and resin. Its ability to burn on water made it particularly devastating in naval battles. Greek fire was typically deployed using specialized siphons mounted on Byzantine ships, allowing operators to project the flaming liquid onto enemy vessels. These siphons function similarly to modern flamethrowers, enabling precise targeting during combat. Additionally, Greek fire could be delivered in pots or grenades, which were thrown by hand or launched via catapults, making it versatile in both naval and siege warfare. The introduction of Greek fire revolutionized naval warfare in the medieval period. Its capacity to continue burning on water rendered traditional firefighting methods ineffective, instilling fear among enemy fleets. The psychological impact of facing an inextinguishable fire contributed to numerous Byzantine victories, including the successful defense against the Arab sieges of Constantinople in 674 to 678 and in 717. The Byzantines developed various devices to maximize the effectiveness of Greek fire. One such innovation was the kyrosiphon, a portable handheld siphon that allowed soldiers to project the incendiary substance during land battles and sieges. This adaptability extended the use of Greek fire beyond naval engagements, demonstrating the ingenuity of Byzantine military engineering. However, despite this, its major use generally remained limited to the naval context. The use of Greek fire declined after the 12th century, possibly due to the loss of the secret formula or the advent of new military technologies. Its mysterious composition continues to intrigue historians and scientists, highlighting the challenges of preserving technological knowledge over time. While the exact formula of Greek fire remains unknown, several theories have been proposed regarding its composition. Some historians suggest that Greek fire was primarily composed of petroleum or naphtha, combined with substances like sulfur and quicklime. This combination would create a flammable liquid capable of igniting upon contact with water. Another hypothesis suggests that Greek fire was a combination of sulfur and pine resin, creating a sticky, flammable substance that adhered to surfaces and continued burning. This composition would make it difficult to extinguish, especially in naval battles. If you're looking to chill out and study or go to sleep, click my 11-hour Unsolved Mysteries compilation in the video. Also, check out my channel for content ranging from unsolved mysteries to true crime, to the occult, to urban legends, and more. That's part 88 of this Unsolved Iceberg series in the bag. Peace out, everyone.